My fiancée demanded I gift her parents a share of my business before our wedding. When I refused, she threatened to leave me, so I beat her to it. I, 33M, run a small but thriving tech consulting firm I started from scratch. For years, I poured my heart into it. Late nights, personal sacrifices, no vacations, to build something stable. Now, I was engaged, set to marry a woman I believed understood hard work. We'd known each other for 2 years, and at first, I admired her ambition and style. I thought we shared the same values: independence, respect, and fairness. But I discovered too late how wrong I was. About 3 months before the wedding, while finalizing guest lists and sorting through vendor contracts, my fiancé brought up something odd. We were sitting at the kitchen table, going over flower arrangements, when she said casually, "My parents have been so supportive of our relationship. Don't you think we should thank them more substantially?" I looked up, confused. We already invited them on that trip last month, and I bought them a nice anniversary gift. "What do you mean more substantially?" She leaned forward, tapping her perfectly manicured nails on the table. "I'm talking about the business. Maybe you could give them a small share. It would be a lovely gesture." I blinked, stunned. "A share of my company? Why would I do that?" Her expression tightened. "They're family, soon to be your family too. This would show you trust them and appreciate their role in our lives." She said it like it was the most reasonable request in the world. I tried to stay calm. "I built this company alone. Your parents had no part in it. They never invested, never offered any business help." She shrugged dismissively. "They don't need to have helped. It's about respect. They've always dreamed of being part of something successful. It's a wedding gift from you to them." I realized then her sense of entitlement ran deeper than I ever imagined. Shocked, I said, "This isn't normal. People don't just hand over shares of their business as wedding gifts. That's a huge deal. It has legal implications." Her smile vanished. "So you're refusing?" She tilted her head, eyes narrowing. "Think carefully. We're about to start a new life together. Don't you want harmony?" My stomach nodded. This was blackmail hidden behind a sweet tone. "I'm sorry," I said firmly. "No shares. I'll be generous in other ways, but not this." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "If you truly cared about me, you'd do it. My parents deserve this. They raised me, supported me. Now you can show your gratitude." She stressed the word gratitude, like I owed them something. I stood my ground. They deserve respect, not a cut of my livelihood. This is my business, my hard work. I won't give it away. She rose from her chair, eyes flashing. "If you won't do this for me, what good is this marriage? I can't believe how selfish you are." In that moment, I realized just how toxic her demands were. She valued my business as a bargaining chip, not respecting my sweat and sacrifice. I knew this wouldn't end here. I braced myself for the battle ahead. Over the following days, tensions soared. She stopped discussing wedding details and instead bombarded me with guilt trips. "My parents are excited about our future. Don't you want them to feel included? Or do you really love me if you can't do this one thing?" I tried to reason with her, suggesting alternatives. Generous gifts, a beautiful family vacation, but she wouldn't hear it. The only gift that mattered in her eyes was a stake in my company. One evening, after a strained dinner, she dropped a bomb. "If you refuse to give my parents a share, I might have to reconsider marrying you." Her voice was icy, her gaze a challenge. My heart clenched. She was threatening to end our engagement over this absurd demand. Was I engaged to a partner or a ruthless dealmaker? I took a deep breath. "Are you serious? We're weeks from the wedding, and you'd throw it all away because I won't sign over part of my business?" She crossed her arms. "You talk about love, but you're not willing to sacrifice. My parents deserve to benefit from your success. It's not like you can't afford it." The entitlement stunned me. This isn't about money. It's about principle, trust, and fairness. Your parents did nothing to earn a stake. Do you think I'm just a bank account for you and them? Her lips curled. "If that's how you see it, maybe we shouldn't get married. Maybe I should find someone who values family more." The arrogance in her tone was unmistakable. I realized she never saw my business as mine. She viewed it as an asset she could manipulate. If she was like this now, what future would I have with her as my wife? A lifetime of demands, threats, and betrayals? I met with a lawyer friend the next morning. I explained the situation, my fiancé demanding I gift part of my LLC to her parents. My lawyer's eyebrows rose. That's a huge red flag, he said. If she's already making these demands now, imagine what happens after marriage. Legally, transferring shares would complicate everything. If you divorce later, her parents might remain partial owners. Don't do it. I nodded, resolve hardening. I decided I wouldn't just refuse, I'd protect myself. If she ended the engagement, so be it. But I wouldn't wait for her to leave me. I'd take control. I started preparations quietly. Updating legal documents, ensuring my business shares remained solely in my name, setting aside personal finances in separate accounts. The following night, she confronted me again. So, have you changed your mind? She asked, tapping her foot. I shook my head. No, I'm not giving them anything. Her eyes narrowed. Then I'm done. I can't marry someone who doesn't respect my family. She turned as if to leave the room triumphantly. But I spoke calmly. Don't bother. I've decided to call off the wedding myself. We're over. She spun around, shocked. I'd beaten her to it, refusing to be cornered. Now I would watch her face the consequences of her entitlement. She stared at me, stunned. You're ending it? Her voice wavered, as if she expected me to beg her not to go. Instead, I was the one walking away. The shift in power unsettled her. But we've planned everything, venues, invitations. You can't just back out. I laughed humorlessly. You threatened to leave if I didn't cave. Now I'm calling your bluff. I won't be blackmailed into giving away what I built. The wedding's off. Panic flickered in her eyes. She tried another angle. Tears. I was just trying to secure our future, to bring our families closer. Her voice quivered, but I saw through it. This wasn't remorse, it was desperation. We can talk this through, she pleaded. I stood firm. We've talked enough. You made your position clear. My worth to you is tied to what I can give your parents. That's not love. She tried to twist the story. You're misunderstanding. It's a cultural thing. My parents expected a gesture. I shook my head. If it was just a gesture, why threaten to break up? This was extortion, not culture. Facing that truth, her mask slipped. Fine, she hissed. I was testing your loyalty, and you failed. A test? My blood boiled. You don't test your fiancé by demanding a share of his company. That's manipulation, plain and simple. With her schemes exposed, she turned vicious. She accused me of being selfish, small-minded. You have so much, yet you won't share a tiny piece. You're greedy. She spat, voice rising. I remained calm. Greedy? I built that company alone. I owe your parents nothing. Your attempt to strong-arm me proves who's greedy. I escorted her out of my house that night. She screamed threats. You'll regret this. I'll tell everyone you abandoned me, that you're a liar. I shrugged. Tell whoever you want. I've documented your demand and threats. If you try to tarnish my reputation, I have evidence. I'd recorded some of our conversations, just in case. Legal advice suggested it was allowed since I was part of the conversation. It was insurance against her false accusations. She froze when I mentioned evidence. You recorded me? Her face went pale. She knew her words wouldn't look good to anyone, family, friends, or a judge. The next few days were chaotic. She tried contacting my relatives, crying that I'd mistreated her. But when I forwarded them snippets of her demands, they understood my decision. Mutual friends reached out, shocked by her audacity. Some sympathized with her, but most, upon hearing the full story, sided with me. In desperation, she came back to my door, sobbing, I'm sorry. I was pressured by my parents. They wanted a share, said it was normal. I love you. Don't leave me. This sudden change of tune left me cold. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't have threatened to walk away over money. She fell to her knees, begging forgiveness, tears streaming. But it was too late. I wouldn't be her pawn. As I watched her plead, I felt no triumph, only relief. I dodged a lifetime of manipulation. I told her firmly, we're done. I won't be marrying you, and I don't trust you anymore. She tried clutching my hand, but I stepped back. Leave now, I said quietly, and don't contact me again. She retreated, sobbing, realizing her entitlements cost her everything. My trust, the wedding, her imagined future sharing my success. The finality of it weighed heavily in the silence after she left. But I felt lighter, free of a toxic bond that would have choked me eventually. Legally, I faced no major aftermath. We weren't married yet, so no common property to dispute. The business remained mine, untangled by her grasping hands. I filed a cease and desist through my lawyer, warning her not to defame me. Her parents tried calling once, asking if there was a misunderstanding. I told them the truth. Their daughter demanded a business share for them as a condition of marriage. They stuttered excuses, but I ended the call. My life, my company, my boundaries, none of it was up for debate. In the weeks that followed, I focused on my work, my team, and my own well-being. Some friends confided that she was spreading partial truths, saying I was controlling, stingy, but I had enough proof to clear my name if needed. The rumors died down when people realized she had no evidence, just bitterness. I learned a valuable lesson. Love doesn't require surrendering one's hard-earned achievements to please others. A real partner supports and respects boundaries, not tries to pry wealth out of you. I dodged a bullet by refusing her ultimatum and taking action first. Ultimately, I emerged stronger, cautious, but not bitter. I saw how quickly greed could poison a relationship. She underestimated my resolve, thinking I'd fold to keep peace. Instead, I proved that my integrity and self-respect weren't for sale. No doubt, she's left regretting her move, knowing she lost a stable future by pushing too far. If she imagined herself a clever strategist, she discovered I wasn't her chess piece. Actions have consequences, and her attempt to leverage my love for her parents' gain cost her everything.
My ex became my stepmother after marrying Dad and said, "Call me Mom now, you pathetic loser." I said, "Never happening." Then I showed Dad her OnlyFans account. The prenup clauses saved him millions. I, 28 male, never expected to be in this situation, but here we are. My ex-girlfriend Catherine, 26, is now married to my dad Roger, 52, and she had the audacity to tell me to call her Mom. Let me give you some background. Catherine and I dated for about 2 years when I was 24. She was gorgeous, charming, and seemed perfect at first. But gradually, I realized she was only interested in my trust fund and the lifestyle my family could provide. When I caught her texting another guy about how she was securing the bag with me, I ended it immediately. Fast forward to a year ago. Dad calls me, says he's been seeing someone for a few months and it's getting serious. I'm happy for him. He's been lonely since Mom passed 5 years ago. Then 8 months ago he drops the bomb. It's Catherine, my ex. I tried warning him, but he wouldn't listen. Said I was being jealous and immature, that she'd grown up and was different now. Yeah, right. Different how? Her chest was bigger and her lips more inflated, but that hunger in her eyes when she looked at our family estate, same old Catherine. They got married 2 months ago after a whirlwind engagement. I didn't attend. Dad was pissed, but I couldn't watch that train wreck happen. Then last week she shows up at my apartment. "Hey sweetie," she said with that fake smile. "Your father sent me to talk to you. We're family now, and he wants us to get along." I just stared at her. "We're not family. You're just the woman who married my dad." Her smile turned nasty. "Actually, I'm your stepmother now, so you should probably start calling me Mom, you pathetic loser." Same guy who couldn't keep me satisfied, living off Daddy's money. I laughed. Actually laughed in her face. Never happening. She got all red and puffy. "Your father will cut you off if you don't show me respect." "Go ahead and try," I said, and shut the door in her face. Here's what Catherine doesn't know. I've been keeping tabs on her since our breakup. Found some interesting stuff recently. See, Daddy Dearest had his lawyer put some pretty specific clauses in their prenup. Infidelity clause. Moral turpitude clause. And my personal favorite, the no previous intimate content clause that voids spousal support if any explicit content surfaces from before the marriage. Guess who's been running an OnlyFans account under a fake name for the past year? I've got screenshots, videos, payment records, everything. The prenup could save Dad millions when this inevitably goes south. Question is, do I show him now or wait for her to escalate? Because knowing Catherine, she definitely will. Update 1. Holy shit, you guys were right. She escalated fast. 2 days after my post, Dad calls me. He's angry. Apparently, Catherine told him I was verbally abusive and threatened her. She actually shed some crocodile tears and everything. "She's your stepmother," he said. "You need to show respect." "Dad, she's 2 years younger than me. I'm not calling her Mom." "Then don't come to family dinners anymore." That stung, not gonna lie, but I held firm. "Your choice, Dad." But here's where it gets juicy. My cousin Evelyn, 31F, works at the country club where Dad and Catherine are members. She called me yesterday with some intel. Apparently, Catherine's been bragging to her tennis friends about how she's got my dad wrapped around her finger and how she's planning to convince him to change his will. One of the ladies asked about me, and Catherine said, and I quote, "That loser? He'll come crawling back when he realizes I control the purse strings now. I already got Roger to freeze his trust fund access." Wait, what? I checked my account. Sure enough, the monthly distribution from my trust was blocked, the trust my mother set up for me. I called our family lawyer, Gerald. He was confused. "Your father can't do that. The trust is irrevocable and he's not the trustee." I am. Turns out Catherine had convinced Dad to call the bank and claim there was suspicious activity on my account, getting it temporarily frozen. Gerald said he'd sort it out, but it would take a few days. That's when I decided, gloves are off. But I wanted to be strategic about it. I reached out to my mom's sister, Aunt Gloria, 48F. She hated that Dad remarried so quickly and definitely wasn't Catherine's fan. I told her everything, the call me mom incident, the lies, the trust fund manipulation. "That gold-digging witch," she said. "Your mother would be rolling in her grave." "I have information that could end their marriage," I told her. "But I need to play this smart." "Sunday dinner," she said immediately. "I'll host. Get your father there, we'll handle this properly." Oh, and the best part? Catherine's best friend Hannah, 27F, has been sliding into my DMs. Apparently Catherine owes her $3K and has been avoiding her since the wedding. Hannah's ready to spill all the tea. This is going to be good. Update 2. The Sunday dinner was explosive. But first, let me tell you what Hannah revealed. We met for coffee Saturday. Hannah was pissed. Turns out, Catherine had borrowed money from multiple friends for the wedding, promising to pay them back with her rich husband's money. Total damage? About $15K across 5 different people. But here's the kicker. Hannah showed me texts where Catherine was bragging about her retirement plan. Direct quote, "I just need to stick it out for a year, get pregnant, and I'm set for life. Even with the prenup, child support will be bank." She also mentioned she was still seeing her ex, Terry, 29M, on the side. "What Roger doesn't know won't hurt him," she texted. Since my state allows single-party consent for recordings, I recorded our entire conversation for evidence. Sunday dinner arrived. Aunt Gloria had invited Dad, Catherine, myself, and a few other family members. Dad was surprised to see me but seemed happy I was making an effort. Catherine walked in wearing a dress that probably cost more than most people's rent, dripping in new jewelry. She smirked at me. "So nice to see you finally coming around, sweetheart." Dinner started normal enough. Then Aunt Gloria, bless her heart, started asking innocent questions. "So Catherine, how did you and Roger meet?" "Oh, at a charity gala," Catherine gushed. "I was volunteering." I almost choked on my wine. Volunteering? She was there as someone's paid date. I knew because that someone was my friend Ethan, who'd hired her through an exclusive companionship service. But I kept quiet. For now. Then Aunt Gloria dropped the bomb. "It must have been awkward, dating your stepson's ex-girlfriend." The table went silent. A few relatives who didn't know nearly spit out their drinks. Catherine's face went red. "That's ancient history. People move on." "Do they?" Aunt Gloria smiled sweetly. "Because I heard you recently told him to call you Mom. That seems inappropriate." Dad looked at Catherine. "You said he threatened you." He was being disrespectful." That's when I spoke up. "Actually, Dad, I have the Ring doorbell footage from my apartment. Would you like to see what really happened?" I pulled out my phone and played the video. There was Catherine, clear as day. "Call me Mom now, you pathetic loser." Dad's face went from confused to angry. Not at me, at her. "You lied to me?" Catherine immediately went into damage control mode. "Roger, baby, I was just trying to establish boundaries. He's always been jealous of our love." "Jealous?" I laughed. "Of what?" "The fact that you're playing my dad the same way you tried to play me." "How dare you? How dare I? How dare you freeze my trust fund that my mother left me?" Dad's head whipped toward Catherine. "You told me that was his idea to get attention." The lies were unraveling, but I wasn't done. "Dad, there's more. A lot more. But I don't think you want to hear it in front of everyone." Catherine stood up, knocking over her wine glass. "This is a setup. You're all just jealous of our happiness." Then she looked at me with pure venom. "You think you're so smart? Your father already changed his will." I get everything if something happens to him. Everything. So keep playing your little game, stepson. The entire table gasped. Dad went pale. Catherine, what are you saying? She realized she'd messed up. I just meant, I'm looking out for our future. Dad stood up slowly. We're leaving, now. As they walked out, Catherine shot me a look that could kill. But I wasn't worried, because what she didn't know? Dad hadn't changed his will yet. He'd only told her he did to see what she'd do. My lawyer Gerald had given him that advice weeks ago when the trust fund thing happened, and I still hadn't played my ace card, the OnlyFans account. The text started rolling in an hour later. First from Dad, we need to talk, tomorrow. My office. Then from Catherine, you little shit, you've ruined everything. You'll regret this. Game on, stepmonster. Update 3. The meeting with Dad was intense, and things got real dark real fast. I met him at his office Monday morning. He looked like he'd aged 5 years overnight. Show me everything, he said. No hello, no small talk. I pulled out my laptop. Dad, are you sure? This is gonna hurt. I need to know. So I showed him. The OnlyFans account first. Her face was obscured in most content in it, but there were identifying tattoos, birthmarks. The account was started 14 months ago, while they were dating. Dad's jaw clenched. She said she was working as a marketing consultant. There's more. I showed him the screenshots from Hannah, the texts about the retirement plan, the pregnancy trap, Terry. Was silent for a long moment. Then, Gerald already started divorce proceedings this morning. The prenup is ironclad thanks to you. Dad, I'm sorry. Don't. You tried to warn me. I was an idiot. Then he told me something that made my blood run cold. He'd had a weird allergic reaction last week. Catherine had made him dinner, and he'd broken out in hives, had trouble breathing. She'd been oddly calm about it, slow to call 911. The doctor said it looked like shellfish exposure, but I haven't had shellfish in years because of my allergy. My mind raced. Dad, what did she make you? Pasta with special sauce. She said it was her grandmother's recipe. Dad, did you save any of it? He had. In his office mini fridge of all places. He'd brought leftovers for lunch but felt uneasy about eating it after the hospital visit. We need to get this tested. Now. We drove to a private lab that Gerald recommended. Put a rush on it, results in 48 hours. While we waited, Dad made some calls. Catherine had been served divorce papers that morning. He'd also frozen all the credit cards and joint accounts. Legally, as per the prenup clauses about financial misconduct, the trust fund stunt qualified. That's when my phone started blowing up. Catherine had gone nuclear on social media. Facebook posts about how the evil stepson had manipulated a sick old man, how I was jealous of their true love. She even posted photos of my mom saying things like, he can't accept his father moving on from his clingy mother's death. That heartless witch, but she made a crucial mistake. In her rage posting, she'd accidentally included a screenshot that showed her logged into the OnlyFans creator dashboard. Her followers noticed immediately. Within an hour, #stepmonster Catherine was trending locally. Someone found her OF account and linked it to her real name. Her country club friends were scandalized. The charity organizations she'd wormed her way into started distancing themselves. 2 days later, the test results came back. The pasta sauce had shrimp paste in it. Not enough to kill, but enough to cause a severe reaction in someone with a shellfish allergy. Dad called the police. This was attempted poisoning. By evening, Catherine was in custody, and that's when her friend's circle completely turned on her. Remember Terry, the side piece? He came forward with receipts, texts where she talked about speeding up the inheritance timeline, where she researched how much shrimp paste could cause a reaction without being fatal. She wanted him sick, not dead. Yet, she was playing a long game, planning to slowly increase his exposure to make it look like his allergy was getting worse naturally. But the best part? Terry had been recording their conversations too. Why? Because Catherine owed him money as well. $20,000 she'd borrowed for investment opportunities, aka her cosmetic surgeries. In one recording, she literally said, once the old man kicks it, I'll pay you back triple. Might take a year or two of playing the grieving widow, but the payout will be worth it. My dad's net worth? About $40 million. Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from county jail. It was Catherine. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. You destroyed my life, she screamed. No, you did that yourself. I'll get out of this. I have lawyers too. Your dad still loves me. Actually, he doesn't. He's disgusted by you. Also, fun fact, attempting to poison someone voids the prenup entirely. You get nothing. She started ugly crying. Please. I have nothing. My apartment, my car, everything's in his name. Should have thought of that before you tried to kill my father. I wasn't trying to kill him. Just make him need me. Yeah, that's not the defense you think it is. I hung up. Dad's doing better now. He's embarrassed but grateful. We're closer than we've been in years. He's also seeing a therapist to deal with the betrayal and the fact that someone he loved tried to harm him. Catherine's trial is in 2 months. Her public defender is trying to plea down from attempted murder to assault. The DA isn't budging. The family money is safe. Dad's health is improving. And Catherine? She's facing 10 to 25 years. Karma's a witch, and sometimes she needs a little help. Final update. Catherine took a plea deal. 8 years for attempted assault, fraud, and theft. She has to pay restitution to everyone she scammed. During sentencing, she tried to play victim one last time. The judge wasn't buying it. Miss Catherine, he said, you systematically targeted, manipulated, and attempted to poison a man for his money. Your actions were premeditated and cruel. She broke down crying. Her lawyer argued for leniency due to her difficult upbringing. Then the prosecution played the Terry recordings. Hard to claim mental illness when you're cackling about your brilliant plan on tape. Her mom, Frances, 48F, showed up to court, glaring at me like I was the devil. She even approached me once. You ruined my baby's life. She loved your father. Your baby tried to kill him. She made a mistake, not one that involved shrimp paste and a $40 million inheritance, no. She spat at me. Security escorted her out. Classy family all around. Dad's doing amazing now. He started dating our family accountant, Teresa, 54F. She's age-appropriate, kind, and has her own money. Most importantly, she thinks Catherine was a tacky little gold digger from day one. I like her. Last week, we cleaned out Catherine's things, found her vision board, pictures of yachts and mansions with future Mrs. Roger written across it. We burned it. Very therapeutic. The country club banned her for life. Her social media disappeared after the OF scandal. Last I heard from Hannah, Catherine's prison nickname is Shrimp Scampi. Dad and I have dinner every Sunday at Aunt Gloria's. We even joke about it now. Next time, maybe date someone age-appropriate, I tell him. Lesson learned, son. Lesson learned. Catherine gets out in 6 years with good behavior. She'll be 34, broke, and a convicted felon. Meanwhile, Dad will be living his best life with Teresa. Sometimes justice takes a while, but when it hits hard. To anyone dealing with a toxic step-parent, document everything. Trust your gut, and never let them isolate you from family. And if they ask you to call them mom, run. Run fast.
I was stranded by my wife and her friends after their harmless prank. They left me in the middle of nowhere and laughed. I didn't get mad, just made one phone call. The next morning, they were all fired when I, 34 male, have always considered myself a pretty easygoing guy. I'm not one to make waves or seek revenge when things go sideways. But sometimes, life hands you a situation where you just have to stand your ground. My wife Eliza, 32F, has this tight-knit group of friends from college that she's stayed close with over the years. There's Vanessa, 33F, who works as an HR manager at a prestigious tech company. Meredith, 32F, a marketing executive. Paige, 34F, a financial advisor. And Tessa, 31F, who's in corporate sales. These women have weekly wine nights, take annual trips together, and generally consider themselves inseparable. I've always been the odd man out. They have these inside jokes from their college days, and whenever we all get together, I'm basically invisible. I've tried to connect with them, but they've made it pretty clear I'm just Eliza's husband to them. Whatever. I've got my own friends. The incident happened during what was supposed to be a couple's retreat last weekend. All the women brought their partners for a cabin getaway. We rented this place about 2 hours from the city, deep in the woods with spotty cell service at the cabin itself, though there was decent reception at the main road about a mile away. I wasn't thrilled about spending the weekend with people who barely acknowledged my existence, but Eliza was excited, so I agreed. The couples were Eliza and me, Vanessa and her husband Greg, Meredith and her boyfriend Jared, Paige and her husband Kyle, and Tessa and her husband Derek. Friday night went okay. We grilled, had some drinks, played some games. The women reminisced about college while us guys talked sports and work. Saturday afternoon, Vanessa suggested we all play this elaborate scavenger hunt she'd planned. We were split into teams. I was with Tessa's husband Derek and Meredith's boyfriend Jared. Our clue led us deeper into the woods than the others. About 45 minutes in, Derek got a text saying there was an emergency back at the cabin and we needed to head back immediately. When we got back, nobody was there. No cars, nothing. Just a note on the door. Gotcha. Hope you boys can find your way back to civilization. XOXO, the girls, and guys. They took everything. Our phones were in the cabin, but they turned them off and hidden them. Our wallets, car keys, everything. The cabin door was locked. We had nothing but the clothes we were wearing. Derek started freaking out. Jared was laughing, nervously saying, "Classic Meredith prank," but I was seething silently. The cabin was in a cellular dead zone except for one specific spot on a hill about a quarter-mile away, where you could sometimes get one bar. Luckily, Derek had kept his phone in his pocket during the scavenger hunt, the only one of us who did. We hiked to the hill and tried for almost an hour before Derek finally got enough signal to make one call. He let me use his phone, and I didn't call Eliza. I called my buddy Nathan, who works in IT security. I gave him a quick rundown of the situation and asked if he wanted to hear the latest on Eliza. Him to be ready to help when I got back to civilization. By this point, Derek's breathing was becoming labored. He mentioned he had mild asthma, but his inhaler was back in the cabin. We spent over an hour searching around the cabin for a spare key, but found nothing. With Derek's breathing getting worse and the sun starting to set, we made the decision to walk to find help. It took us nearly 3 hours to walk 7 miles to the nearest gas station. By then it was dark, I was dehydrated, my feet were blistered, and Derek's asthma had worsened significantly. Some kind stranger gave us help. A ride to the nearest town, where we found a cheap motel and crashed. The clerk at the front desk gave Derek some over-the-counter allergy medicine, which helped him breathe a little better, but he was still in rough shape. Sunday morning, I used the motel's lobby phone to call Eliza. Her response? "OMG, babe, it was just a joke. We thought you guys would figure it out sooner. We left a spare key under the back porch swing. Didn't you check there?" Whoa! And wait till you see the hidden camera footage we got of you guys freaking out. We're all at brunch now. We'll come get you guys in a few hours. I hung up without responding. That's when it clicked. They had set up cameras around the cabin to record our reactions. I asked the motel clerk if I could use the computer at the front desk to check my email. He agreed, and I saw that everyone in the group had already started posting clips from the hidden cameras on their social media accounts. They had driven back to the main road where they had cell service to upload everything last night while we were walking for help. I called Nathan again from the motel lobby phone, and we formed a plan. I decided to wait until Monday to make any more moves. I needed to see what else they would post and how they would act when they picked us up. By Monday morning, things started happening. I'll post updates as this unfolds, but let's just say that recording your hilarious prank on hidden cameras, posting it all over social media, and sending the video to your work colleagues isn't the smartest move when one of your victims decides enough is enough. Update 1, Monday evening. First, thanks for all the support in the comments. Wasn't expecting this to blow up like it did. Let me fill in some details about Sunday and this morning. After I hung up on Eliza, she kept calling the motel. I didn't pick up. Derek was still in rough shape from his asthma flare-up. He was considering going to urgent care if his breathing didn't improve by morning. Jared kept saying we should just laugh it off, but I noticed even he was pissed when I showed him they'd shared videos of us looking confused and desperate on their social media. Some of Meredith's co-workers had already commented things like, "LOL savage," and "These guys can't take a joke." Eliza and Vanessa finally showed up around 3 p.m. They were smirking until they saw our faces and Derek's condition. Derek immediately confronted Tessa on the phone about his asthma flare-up. Jared just silently got in the car. The ride back was tense, to say the least. When we got home, Eliza tried to play it off. "Babe, it was just a harmless prank. We didn't think you'd have to walk that far. The spare key was under the swing the whole time." I just looked at her and said, Do you realize Derek could have had a serious medical emergency out there? Do you think stranding someone with no money, no phone, no medication, and no transportation is funny? She got defensive. God, you're being so dramatic. The guys thought it was funny too. Which guys, I asked. Well, Kyle thought it was hilarious. He was the one who suggested hiding the phones and setting up the cameras. Kyle is Paige's husband, an investment banker who's always been the alpha male of the group. So, you're saying the prank was Kyle's idea? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Well, yeah, but we all thought it was funny. Greg helped set up all the cameras. Vanessa posted the video to her work chat, and even her boss said it was epic. That's when I knew I had more than enough. I went silent, told her I needed space, and slept in the guest room. She kept texting me memes about learning to take a joke that her friends were sending her. This morning, I put my plan into motion. On Sunday night, I had already emailed Nathan screenshots of their social media posts and the videos they had shared. He helped me document everything and organize it clearly. Early Monday, I sent emails to the HR department at Vanessa's company, the regional manager at the financial firm where Paige works, the director of marketing at Meredith's company, the VP of sales at the company where Tessa works. When we got back to civilization Sunday night, I spent hours documenting everything. I didn't need any special hacking or tech skills. The videos were right there on their public Instagram stories and Facebook posts. They had literally tagged their workplaces and colleagues in the posts, showing us stranded. They posted their group chat planning it all, with Vanessa clearly writing, "Let's make sure Derek doesn't have his inhaler. It'll be funnier when he panics." And a video showed Tessa and Paige laughing as they said, "We should do this to the new hires as a team-building exercise." I didn't share everything right away, just enough. The hidden camera videos they themselves had posted showing us desperately searching for help, the screenshots of their group chat planning to separate Derek from his medication, the social media posts where they bragged about leaving us stranded as character building, the TikTok where they laughed about it being miserable out there with the mosquitoes and no water. I'm not vindictive enough to want them fired. I just wanted their employers to see who they really are. But actions have consequences, and professionalism matters. This morning, Vanessa texted our group chat. "What TF is happening?" "HR just called me in for an emergency meeting." Then Paige. "My boss wants to see me now about conduct on becoming of a financial advisor. Is that confusing?" "What is going on?" Meredith. "My director just emailed me about a disturbing video being circulated. I'm freaking out." Tessa. "My client just cancelled our contract and specifically cited my lack of judgment and compassion as the reason." "I need that commission!" Eliza came storming into the house at lunch, fuming. "What did you do?" "They're saying you sent their work emails with the videos we took. Those were private." I just shrugged. I simply forwarded their own public social media posts to their companies with a brief explanation of the context. "Your friends already tagged their workplaces in these videos. I just made sure their bosses actually saw what was being associated with their companies." She's been blowing up my phone all afternoon. Apparently, Vanessa has been suspended pending investigation. Paige has been removed from her client accounts. Meredith's team is being reassigned. And Tessa lost her biggest client. Kyle called me a vindictive asshole and said it was just a joke, bro. Derek, interestingly, sent me a private text. I should have stood up for myself. Thanks for doing what I couldn't. I'll update again when I know more. Right now, I'm staying at my brother's place until Eliza stops throwing my clothes into the yard. Update 2, Wednesday. It's been a wild 48 hours. I'll try to keep this update focused on the important developments. First, to answer the most common question. Yes, Eliza and I are still married, technically, but things aren't looking good. She spent all of Monday night and Tuesday alternating between calling me a monster who ruined her friends' lives over a stupid argument, ended with her being hospitalized. Joke, and begging me to fix this by calling everyone and saying it was all a misunderstanding. I refused. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate act that they recorded, shared, and bragged about. The professional fallout has been significant. Vanessa was fired yesterday. Turns out she had already been on thin ice for creating a hostile work environment, and this was the final straw. She's been blowing up my phone, calling me every name in the book. Paige has been demoted and put on probation. Her clients have been reassigned, which means her bonus this year will be basically zero. Meredith's company is more image conscious than the others. They've required her to take compassion training, and she's been removed from client-facing roles for at least 6 months. Tessa lost 3 more clients after the first one talked. Commission-based sales are her whole income, so she's panicking about making her mortgage payment. Kyle is still on his high horse, sending me threatening texts about how I've made an enemy for life. Whatever, dude. You're not exactly the criminal mastermind here. The most surprising development came from Derek. He called me yesterday and asked if we could meet for coffee. He told me that after his asthma attack and seeing how dismissive everyone was about it, he's finally decided to divorce Tessa. Apparently, this prank was just the latest in a pattern of her humiliating him for entertainment. He thanked me for inadvertently giving him the wake-up call he needed. Jared broke up with Meredith yesterday via text. She showed up at our house, where I was picking up more clothes, screaming that I had poisoned him against her. As for Eliza, she finally stopped defending her friends last night. She called me crying, saying that Vanessa had just told her that I was always the problem, and that Eliza should have found someone who could take a joke. Apparently, now that Vanessa is unemployed, even Eliza is too much of a liability for her. Eliza asked if we could talk tonight. I agreed, but I'm not optimistic. She participated in stranding me in the woods, laughed about it, shared videos of it, and then defended everyone's actions until they turned on her. That's not exactly the foundation of a healthy marriage. I'm not celebrating anyone losing their jobs or relationships. That wasn't my goal. I just wanted them to experience consequences for once in their lives. These are adults in their 30s who thought abandoning people in the woods without medication or transportation was hilarious. That's not a harmless prank. It's dangerous and cruel. I'll update after I talk with Eliza tonight. Final update. 1 week later. It's been a week since everything went down, and I think this will be my final update on the situation. Eliza and I met for dinner last Wednesday, as planned. She was subdued, not the indignant person who had been blowing up my phone for days. She started by saying her friends had shown their true colors by turning on her the minute things got tough. Apparently, in their group chat, which I was never part of, they'd started blaming her for marrying such a vindictive asshole and suggesting she must have known what I was really like. I asked her one simple question. If Derek had died from his asthma attack out there, would you still think it was a harmless prank? She couldn't answer. Finally, she admitted that she'd gotten caught up in the group mentality. When I'm with them, I become someone I don't recognize sometimes, she said. I didn't think about the consequences. I just wanted to be part of the joke. I told her I needed time to think about whether our marriage could recover from this. She nodded and said she understood. We agreed to a trial separation of 1 month. As for the others, Vanessa has been frantically job hunting, but 3 companies have already turned her down after checking her references. Calm as a bitch. Paige's husband Kyle finally got a taste of his own medicine. His firm did an internal investigation after a client complained about his frat boy antics and found some problematic emails. He's been put on leave. Meredith is trying to rebrand herself on LinkedIn as an empathy expert, which is rich considering she was laughing about Derek's panic attack just days ago. Tessa and Derek are officially divorcing. He's staying with his brother and says he feels like he can breathe for the first time in years. No pun intended. Jared reached out and actually apologized to me. We got a beer yesterday and he admitted he'd always felt uncomfortable with the group's dynamic but never had the guts to say anything. I've been reflecting on my role in all this. Was I too harsh? Maybe. Could I have found a less nuclear option? Possibly. But after years of being treated like I was invisible, after being abandoned in the woods, after watching Derek struggle to breathe, while they all laughed, something in me just broke. The thing that bothers me most is that none of them, not even Eliza, initially showed any real remorse. They were only sorry when they faced consequences, not because they recognized their behavior was wrong. I'm staying with my brother for now. Eliza texts daily, sometimes with updates on her therapy, which she started last Friday, sometimes just to say she misses me. I'm not ready to go back yet. Trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can glue it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. I don't know if Eliza and I will work things out. Part of me hopes we can, but another part wonders if I'll ever be able to look at her without remembering how she laughed while I was lost in the woods. If there's a lesson here, I guess it's that pranks at someone else's expense aren't pranks at all. They're just cruelty disguised as humor. And sometimes the people who dish it out can't take it when the tables turn. Thanks for reading and for all the support. I hope I never have to post an update like this again. I let my ex stay with me during a crisis, and it backfired horribly. I, 37M, never imagined I'd find myself in this situation. 3 years after our messy breakup, my ex showed up on my doorstep crying about being evicted. 2 weeks later, she was claiming my house belonged to her. But calm as a bitch, and so was the look on her face when she realized who she was messing with. For context, I'm a construction project manager. I bought my house 6 years ago, a fixer-upper that needed serious work, but the location was perfect, and the price was right. I spent almost 2 years renovating it myself on weekends and after work. New roof, updated plumbing, refinished hardwood floors, completely remodeled kitchen. Blood, sweat, and a whole lot of cursing went into making it the comfortable home it is today. I met Melissa 4 years ago through mutual friends. She was gorgeous, fun, and seemed genuinely interested in me. We hit it off immediately and started dating. 6 months in, she moved into my place. Things were good for a while. We hosted backyard barbecues, went on weekend trips, all that couple shit. She lived with me for about 1.5 years total. Around the 8-month mark, things started changing. She quit her job as a dental receptionist, claiming her boss was toxic, and she needed a break. No problem, I supported her decision. But weeks turned into months, and she made zero effort to find another job. Instead, she spent her days scrolling through social media, watching reality TV, and complaining about how bored she was. When I'd gently ask about her job search, she'd get defensive. Why are you so obsessed with me working? Do you think I'm just using you for money or something? Meanwhile, she was constantly buying expensive clothes and makeup, racking up my credit card bills. When I brought it up, she accused me of being financially controlling. Classic deflection. The final straw came when I discovered she'd been cheating with her personal trainer. I found messages on her phone while she was in the shower, explicit conversations about their sessions when I was at work. When confronted, she didn't even deny it, just shrugged and said, "You've been so distant lately. What did you expect?" I kicked her out that same day. She moved in with the trainer, and I spent the next few months rebuilding my life and my bank account. Changed the locks, cut contact, the whole post-breakup drill. 3 years passed without a word from her. I dated occasionally, but focused mainly on my career and home improvements. Then, 2 months ago, my doorbell rang around 9 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday. I opened the door to find Melissa standing there, mascara running down her face, looking like a drowned rat. "What the hell are you doing here?" I asked, not bothering to hide my surprise or annoyance. "I've been evicted," she sobbed. "Connor and I broke up months ago. I've been staying with friends, but I've run out of options. I just need a place for a few days until my new apartment is ready. Please, I have nowhere else to go." Every instinct told me to shut the door, but it was pouring rain, and despite everything, I'm not completely heartless. Plus, my neighbor was watching from their window, and I didn't want to look like the asshole turning away a crying woman in the storm. 3 days, I said firmly. You can sleep on the couch. Then you're gone. She thanked me profusely, hugged me, which I did not reciprocate, and brought in a single suitcase. I showed her to the couch, gave her some blankets, and went to bed, mentally kicking myself for being so damn soft. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon. Melissa was in the kitchen wearing one of my t-shirts, cooking breakfast like it was 2019 again. "Morning!" she chirped. "I made your favorite bacon, eggs over easy, and sourdough toast." I mumbled thanks and ate quickly, uncomfortable with this bizarre domestic scene. Before leaving for work, I reminded her this was temporary. "Of course," she smiled sweetly. "I really appreciate this. My new place will be ready soon, I promise." When I got home that evening, the house was spotless. She cleaned everything, done my laundry, and was cooking dinner. For a split second, I remembered why I'd fallen for her in the first place. But then I remembered finding those messages, and the feeling faded fast. Days passed, and Melissa made herself comfortable, too comfortable. She unpacked her suitcase, arranged her toiletries in the bathroom, and started using we and our when talking about the house. Red flags were popping up, but I ignored them because, honestly, coming home to a clean house and cooked meals wasn't terrible after working 10-hour days. A week in, I asked about her apartment situation. "Oh, there's been a slight delay," she said vaguely. "The previous tenant is having trouble finding a new place. Maybe another week." I should have pushed harder, but I was busy with a challenging project at work and didn't have the energy for confrontation. Big mistake. The following Sunday, I was working in the backyard when my neighbor, Frank, came over. "Hey man, your wife was telling me about your renovation plans for the master bathroom. Sounds ambitious! Exclamation point. I nearly choked. My what now? Your wife. The blonde. She said you guys got back together and are redoing the house. My blood boiled as I explained she was definitely not my wife and just staying temporarily. Frank looked shocked and embarrassed. "Whoa, sorry, dude. I had no idea. She seemed so at home here. Even showed me some paint samples and asked my opinion. That's really weird." Frank quickly changed the subject, but the damage was done. My irritation was evolving into serious concern about what Melissa was up to. That night, I confronted Melissa. "Why the fuck are you telling people you're my wife? And what renovation plans?" She flipped the script immediately. "Why are you yelling at me? I just mentioned I had some ideas for the bathroom, and Frank assumed we were together. It's not my fault. You need to find somewhere else to stay. Now, this isn't working." Her demeanor changed instantly. "I've actually been thinking, this house has so much potential, but you're not utilizing the space properly. If I move back in permanently, I could really make it shine. Remember how good we were together. Are you serious right now? You cheated on me, remember? This is my house. You need to leave." She smiled in a way that made my skin crawl. "Actually, I've been doing some research. Since I lived here for over a year when we were together, in some states that gives me common law rights. Plus, I contributed to this household." I laughed in her face. "Contributed? You sat on your ass for months while I paid for everything. And we were never married, common law or otherwise. You're delusional." "We'll see about that," she said coldly. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. He says I have a case for partial ownership based on verbal agreements and my contributions to increasing the property value." This was absolute bullshit, but the fact that she'd consulted a lawyer worried me. Not because she had any legitimate claim. She didn't, but because even frivolous legal battles can be expensive and draining. The next day, I came home to find Melissa had invited people over, her sister and 2 friends I didn't recognize. They were drinking my expensive whiskey and acting like they owned the place. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. "Just a small housewarming." Melissa smiled, drunk and smug. "Since I'm moving back in permanently." Her sister chimed in. "You should be grateful. She's giving you another chance after how you treated her." I was speechless. The audacity was mind-blowing. This woman had cheated on me, and now she and her entourage were acting like I was the villain. "Everyone who doesn't pay rent here needs to leave. Now." I opened the front door pointedly. They left reluctantly, giving me dirty looks. Melissa stayed behind, arms crossed. "You're being ridiculous," she said. "This is my home too. You have until tomorrow morning to get your shit and get out, or I'm calling the cops." She laughed. "Go ahead. I'll tell them this is my residence, show them my old mail that's still addressed here, and explain how you're trying to illegally evict me. It'll be your word against mine." I realized then that she planned this from the start. The tears, the temporary stay story, the cooking and cleaning, all manipulation to worm her way back into my house, and now she was threatening legal action to steal what I'd worked for. That night, I barely slept. I was furious but also worried, What if she did have some obscure legal claim? What if she refused to leave? I didn't want a protracted legal battle with someone this manipulative. My anger had been building gradually since she first mentioned staying longer, but now seeing her true intentions, any remaining sympathy vanished. I'd given her a chance out of basic human decency, and she was exploiting it completely. The next morning, Melissa was still asleep when I left for work. I called my buddy Dave, who's a real estate attorney, and explained the situation. "She's full of shit," Dave said immediately. "In our state, there's no common law marriage. And even if there was, you'd need to present yourselves as married for years, not just live together. As for property rights, unless her name is on the deed or mortgage, or you had a written agreement about equity sharing, she has zero claim." "What about the illegal eviction thing?" I asked. "That's more complicated," Dave admitted. "She did establish legal tenancy when you lived together years ago, but that ended when she moved out. For this current stay, since you allowed her in as a guest, and she hasn't been there for very long, hasn't paid rent, and doesn't have any utilities in her name, we can argue she's an unwanted guest rather than a tenant. So what's my fastest option here? You typically need to give proper notice for eviction, usually 30 days. But given the circumstances, we could file for an emergency removal on the grounds of misrepresentation and potentially harassment. It might take a few days to get the paperwork through, though." Dave offered to start the process immediately and suggested I document everything in the meantime. "One more thing," Dave added. "If she has a key, you'll need to change the locks after she's gone. And I'd recommend installing security cameras, just in case she tries to come back." I agreed and thanked him profusely. Then I called my sister Laura, who lives nearby, and asked if she could meet me at my house later to be a witness when I confronted Melissa again. I didn't trust her not to make false accusations. 3 days later, Dave called to say the emergency removal order had been approved. The sheriff would serve Melissa with papers that afternoon, giving her 24 hours to vacate. I made sure to be home when the sheriff arrived. Melissa's face, when she saw the official standing at the door, was priceless. Shock, confusion, then anger.
"There's a sheriff here with eviction papers."
"What the hell is going on?" she demanded, turning to me. "Not eviction papers," I corrected calmly. "Removal papers for an unwanted guest. You have 24 hours to get your stuff and leave."
"You can't do this. I'll sue you.
My attorney disagrees. "And everything is being documented, so think carefully about your next move." The sheriff explained the situation to her formally. She had until 2 p.m. tomorrow to remove her belongings or face trespassing charges. She was fuming, but seemed to understand this wasn't a bluff. Laura arrived shortly after the sheriff left, and Melissa's demeanor shifted dramatically. "I can't believe you're doing this to me," she sobbed, suddenly playing the victim again. "After everything we've been through, I have nowhere to go." Laura, bless her, wasn't buying it. "Should have thought about that before you tried to steal my brother's house," she said, flatly. "What?" That night was tense. Melissa alternated between crying, pleading, and threatening legal action. I stayed firm, with Laura staying over as a witness to everything. The next day, Melissa started packing, making as much noise as possible and slamming doors. By 1:30 p.m., most of her things were in suitcases, but she was clearly stalling. "I'm still looking for some of my stuff," she claimed, eyeing my electronics. "You came with one suitcase," I reminded her. "Anything else isn't yours." At 2 p.m. exactly, the sheriff returned as promised. Melissa tried to argue she needed more time, but he was unmoved. "Ma'am, you need to leave the premises now with whatever you've packed. If you believe there are still belongings inside, you can arrange to collect them later with the homeowner's permission and supervision." Finally, realizing she had no more cards to play, Melissa left, but not before turning on all the faucets and clogging the sinks with paper towels. Laura helped me clean up the water damage while I called a locksmith. By evening, I had new locks installed and was researching security systems online. I arrived home first the next day, and Laura came over shortly after to help me clean up further damage we discovered. Food dumped in dresser drawers, "fuck you" written in lipstick on the bathroom mirror, and what smelled like fish sauce poured into my closet, ruining many of my clothes. Over the next 2 weeks, I installed a comprehensive security system, doorbell camera, exterior cameras covering all entry points, and motion-activated lights. I was taking no chances.
Melissa's harassment continued. First came the threatening texts.
You'll regret this. I'm not done with you. Hope you enjoy the surprise I left in your bedroom.
Then she escalated to showing up at my workplace, causing a scene until security escorted her out. She even sent her brother to talk some sense into me, which ended with him threatening me until my neighbor Frank came outside and told him to leave before he called the cops. I documented everything and filed for a restraining order, which took about 3 weeks to process. The judge granted a temporary order based on the evidence of harassment, with a hearing scheduled for a permanent order. About a month after the eviction, around 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Someone was trying to break in through my back door. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep under my bed and called 911, then crept downstairs. Through the kitchen window, I could see Melissa and a man I didn't recognize trying to force the door open. I flipped on the exterior lights, and they froze like deer in headlights.
Police are on their way!
I shouted through the door. I have cameras recording everything. They ran, but not fast enough. The cops caught them 2 blocks away. Thanks to my security system, the evidence was clear, high-definition video of them breaking my window and attempting to enter. Both were arrested for attempted breaking and entering. The legal process moved slowly after that. Melissa was released on bail pending her hearing, but violating the temporary restraining order added another charge. The permanent restraining order was granted at our hearing 2 weeks later, ensuring she couldn't come within 500 feet of me, my home or my workplace. It took almost 2 months for her case to resolve. She eventually pled guilty to reduced charges in exchange for probation and paying restitution for the property damage. A week after her guilty plea, I drove by her sister's house, where Melissa had apparently been staying throughout the legal proceedings. She was sitting on the front lawn, surrounded by boxes and bags, all her possessions. She was crying hysterically into her phone. Through my open window, I could hear her begging someone for a place to stay, using the exact same lines she'd used on me. Her sister had kicked her out after the court case, embarrassed by the scandal and unwilling to house someone on probation. None of her friends would take her in either, now that her true colors were revealed. The karma was almost poetic. I didn't stop or gloat. I just drove by slowly, making eye contact briefly. Her face when she saw me was priceless. Shock, then rage, then defeat. It's been 4 months since then. My house is peaceful again. Sometimes I still find myself checking the locks twice or waking up at the slightest noise, but those moments are becoming less frequent. I've learned a valuable lesson about misplaced compassion and the importance of boundaries. The old saying is true, no good deed goes unpunished. But I've added my own corollary, no bullshit goes unchallenged, at least not in my house.